You're listening to the Happy Workaholic podcast. I'm your host, Kellyanne Gorman. This show was once about business, LinkedIn, and my life with an autoimmune disease. And then one day I found out I was misdiagnosed, so I had to switch things up a bit. Life is so short, and when you're given a second chance, you better believe I'm going to take it, celebrate it, and share it with you. I'm on a mission to help women take their business and life to that next level they deserve to be at. This show is intended to elevate your mind, upgrade your business, enhance your life, and become part of a positive and uplifting community. Inspiration, motivation, and determination are what got me to where I am today, and I cannot wait to share these amazing stories of other female entrepreneurs who will be featured on the show. If you have a story or brand you want to share, send me a message on Facebook and Instagram today. You can find me at The Happy Workaholic. I would love to connect with you. Do you want a live chat during this episode? Make sure you're listening on iHeartRadio. I'm here to remind you to work hard, stay humble, follow your dreams, and never, ever give up. Thanks for taking the time to subscribe to the Happy Workaholic podcast. And now let's get into today's show. Are you someone who enjoys a schedule? Are you obsessed with that new planner of yours? Do you love the feeling at the end of the day when your to-do list is checked off? Maybe you're ready to get super focused in your home and work life. Well, my friends, I have just the gift for you. I've created some business, mindset, and organizational tools that are available for you today. Simply visit thehappyworkaholic.com and sign up to receive my weekly newsletter. Once you confirm your email, those tools are sent your way, as well as a link for you to join my exclusive Facebook group, The Happy Workaholic Network. This is a community for women who want it all and deserve it all. It's a place for you to meet others just like you, to share what you have going on in your everyday life. New business, new baby, new recipes, new workouts, and so much more. It's all allowed because, as I always say, sharing is caring. The Happy Workaholic Network is also the home for the conversations to continue after each episode of the Happy Workaholic podcast. If this sounds like something that you want to become a part of, then join us today. I cannot wait to see you in the group. And don't forget to tag me on Facebook and Instagram at The Happy Workaholic when using your tool so I can share your work on my stories. Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new episode. Today I want to share a story with you about a doctor that I just had to fire. And I'm going to give you some very useful tips when or if this ever happens to you. So I had to take a couple days to calm down so that I could actually record a really good podcast on this topic for you guys, because I want to make sure I'm giving you really good advice and how to do this if for some odd reason you are ever in a situation where you need to. So let's just start off with the story. So very long story short, I have been suffering with vertigo. And the reason why I have that is because it happens because I'm withdrawing from a lot of meds that I shouldn't have been on when I was misdiagnosed. So my body is detoxing from those meds and I get vertigo from it. The vertigo went away. Then it came back. And so I was put on this concoction of meds to kill it, and it worked. But then it randomly came back, and then I got a virus, and the virus triggered it. The reason why I have it also is because of a virus, and it's in my inner ear, my left ear. So with all of that being said, I was seeing an ENT who I had recommended to actually a couple of my other doctors, and he was very thorough. I trusted him, and obviously with my situation, it's very hard to trust doctors since I've gone through so many, but I felt really good, and I trusted him with the concoction of meds he put me on. The last thing I wanted to do was go back on prednisone. It is literally the worst drug ever, and I just had to suck it up and say, you know what, if it's going to kill this vertigo and make it stop, then I'm going to trust him and take these meds. So what happened the last week, 2 weeks ago, a week ago, I was in Vegas and I came back and I ended up getting a virus. So a virus triggered it. So it was back in full force, and it triggered the prednisone to basically take over my body that. If you've ever been on steroids, prednisone in particular, you can become a little bit crazy. And the first step is admitting it, right? So I was like losing my mind. Like I felt like another person took over my body. And you do not want to feel like that. You know, I've spent the last couple of months really treating myself with like more rest and feeding my brain with things that will fuel it, and just really trying to detox my system from all of this crap that's in it. And it's going to take like a year, if not more. And then I chose to put more meds back into my system, which really threw me for a loop. So I was out for like a week. I mean, pure exhaustion, going crazy, having a virus, being sick. Like my body was just like thrown in a whole nother direction, which it was on a path of healing. And then I put this shit back in my system. So now that the virus is gone, I'm feeling better. I have 3 more days of my steroids. So when you actually hear this, I'm recording it Monday morning. You are listening to this now on Friday, so I'm officially off of steroids. I'm feeling a lot calmer. And over the weekend, I decided to just stop everything, go to the store, and get all the fruits and vegetables I need to heal my gut and detox and just drink all the juices. I hadn't had my green juice in, I think, 7 or 8 days, and I honestly could not stop eating. Whether it was sugar, carbs, gluten, dairy, so much meat, like every day I was eating meat. And I've been basically eating vegan for the exception of when I want meat, like I'll go out and get a chicken sandwich, or if I'm craving a burger. But then other than that, like I don't have meat in the house. I'm like basically a vegan. And I feel like that's just what I need to do personally, and how my body feels better while I'm trying to heal and detox from like all these meds I was on. That's just my personal situation. Everybody is different. And so when I crave meat, I eat it. When I don't, I know fruits and veggies are the best way to go for me right now in order to heal as quickly as I can. And for months, at least 6 months, I juice every morning. That is my meal, my breakfast. I make a super delicious fresh juice with all the fruits and veggies. And if you're interested in learning anything about or seeing what I'm eating and drinking, it's all on my Instagram. So you can follow me at The Happy Workaholic if you're not. But that's my story. Now let's get into how and why and when you should fire your doctor. And obviously, I'm a professional patient, so I know when it comes to things like this, like what's good to do and what's not the best thing to do. And it was very difficult to do this. I shouldn't say difficult. It was more annoying because now I have to wait 2 more weeks for a referral to get another ENT. But I wanted to give you the backstory of why this happened, and I went on a crazy rant on my Instagram stories last week, and I was so fired up from my steroids. So if you feel like watching that, you can also head to my Instagram. But I wanted to make a list, and I'm looking at it now, of things that you can do and things that will happen and things that you should do and not say and whatever. If this ever happens to you or somebody you're taking care of or a family member or friend, use this information so that it will help you make the best decision possible in your own circumstance. I'm not saying you need to do this. I'm just saying if you're ever in this position, this is how I went about it, and I'm extremely passionate and very vocal, and I have been since day one, 3 years ago, when I was diagnosed with these things that didn't actually exist in my system. And I just want to be able to help thousands of other patients. And I know that by recording this episode and giving you all my backstory and information, this will actually help you in determining whether or not you need to make these choices. And first of all, okay, so I just told you my backstory. So now you know why I was in this position. I was having vertigo. I was on these meds, and these meds just like threw my system for a loop when I got this virus. They just started rejecting it. And I ended up in the emergency room over a week. Actually, I think it was a week ago today, because I literally felt like I was having a heart attack. And I was about to have a stroke. Something was up, and my heart was racing so fast. I was like numb and tingling, and like all these crazy things were happening. And I was just like, I need to get my booty to the emergency room. So what the ER doctor said to me there was that I just can't handle these meds. Like, I need to come off. And so with prednisone, you cannot just stop this drug. Your body will just, again, be thrown for a loop. You need to taper off. There's a lot of meds you need to taper off of. I have not tapered off things in the past, and that was my choice. And I suffered through a lot of really bad withdrawal symptoms. And it's not fun, but I just wanted this shit out. That's not the smartest route to go. I've done it before, but this time I knew I needed to, because I can feel in my body like how I needed to come off this med. And I'd been on it for 2 weeks, so it was very odd that these things were happening. Usually they happen with a medication up front, like your body just rejects it. But because I got this other virus, it just threw my system into like complete, like, get this med out of your body now. And now a week later, I'm slowly trying to taper off. Well, I'll be done in 3 days. Today, tomorrow, I'll be done Wednesday. Wednesday's my last pill. Thank God. So now I'm in this position where I need to follow up with my ENT, with my doctor. I need to know how he prefers for me to taper off. What's the best way? Because of the dose I was on, you can't just stop. So this is why I'm recording this show. So now here we are in this situation. I'm following up with my doctor. I've been discharged from the emergency room. I need to know how many pills I should be taking to taper off, what he suggests. Is there something else? Because I also don't want this vertigo to come back, because then I can't do a lot of things. So I had called his office many times, and by the 6th call, still no response, but there was a message from him in the system. Nobody had called me about the message. I learned about the message because I called for the 6th time, which is one ridiculous. So the message said, tell her to stop the drugs and she can get a second opinion. That was the message. So from a patient's perspective, I was like, what? Like, I don't understand. I'm not asking you for a second opinion. I'm asking you how to taper off this drug. One, as a medical professional, you know that this medication cannot be messed with. You cannot just stop prednisone. You have to taper off. Your body will go crazy. And so will you, because it's steroids. Like, I literally was about to lose my mind. So that's point one. Point two, are you writing me off because I'm questioning you? Like, I'm a patient. I have every right. And I am just clearly asking, like, how to taper off. And so he just wrote me off. And that's just unacceptable. And so I needed to follow up again. So then I spoke to, through these 6 calls, I had spoken to multiple people, just answering their phone and sending messages. They are not on the medical side. They are just more on the office side. So I finally get a hold of his medical assistant, who promised a callback. Did not receive one. Then the next day, I went to the source. I went to CVS. I spoke to a pharmacist. I spoke to somebody who knows the drug. How do you suggest I taper off? I mean, I know how I can do it. I just want somebody else's opinion that's familiar with the drug. So she told me, and so that's what I'm doing. And so now I'll be done in 2 days. The fact that this doctor could, 1, not give a shit. 2, his office doesn't call me back on the 6th call. And 3, just write me off. That's just not okay. I've spent probably 8 hours in his office going through hearing testing, VNG testing, all these vertigo tests, and I'm not questioning your opinion. I'm asking you how to taper off. And even if I was, you don't just write me off and say, get a second opinion. Like, that was a big F you, okay? So that's not okay. And the medical assistant never called me back. The next day, I just gave myself a break, and I said, I'm not even going to deal with them. And then around like 4, I was like, you know what? I need to speak to his office manager, because there are so many other patients out there that don't know what to do, that don't know that they can speak up, that don't know that, you know, you should be persistent and follow up and do all the things I've done over the last 3 years. So I need to make it a point and speak up on behalf of all these other patients. So that's exactly what I did. So I had a very thorough conversation with his office manager. Here's where I kind of want to refer to this as like a front of the house and back of the house situation, like working in a restaurant. If you're not familiar with working in a restaurant, you know, the front of the house is the people that obviously greet you. The back of the house is the team making your food. And this is where the problems are. So I spoke to the office manager. She apologized over and over again. I said, listen, it's not your fault. I just need you to become aware of this situation, because I'm extremely vocal about being a patient advocate and speaking up. And the systems that you have in place are not right. And you need to fix that. And I know that you are not going to be able to fix that, but you do have a boss with a budget that can. And it's not okay. So I voiced my frustrations. I explained to her the situation. She apologized over and over again. I thanked her for that. And she promised she would call me back the next day, which she did. So we'll get into that in a minute. The front of the house of this office being the girls that are answering the phones, the girls that are taking your information, booking your appointments, all of that. They are slammed. You're dealing with thousands of patients, right? So your job is to make sure that you take their information correctly. Spelling of name, phone numbers correctly, your healthcare proxy, your emergency contact, all of which need to be inputted into the system correctly, because one little spell check can literally kill a person. Misspelling can literally kill someone, whether it's a med, whether it's numbers, anything from your past records. Like these systems need to be put in place so that the people working in the front of the house can input correctly, right? So that needs to be taken care of. When it comes to the back of the house, aka the doctors, the nurses, the medical assistants, all of that situation, those people need to be taking care of the patients. Nurses and medical assistants are dealing with the thousands of patients that are coming in every day. They don't have time to check the patient portal, to email you back, to call you back, to pull up records when they've never actually seen your chart before. I feel like there needs to be another middleman, and this is what I was talking about on my rant, in these offices in order to do so, because it's almost like a concierge, right? Making sure the guest is always happy. You want to make sure the patient is always taken care of. And because the medical assistants and the nurses and the doctors are seeing people every 15 minutes, there's no time for a callback, which is why I'm following up 6, 7, 8 times, because no one's getting back to me. And it's not their fault. There needs to be another person in place in these offices that can do so, to make sure the patient is at ease, to make sure the patient is okay. I almost went back to the emergency room like 2 other times because I thought I was really going to have a heart attack. Because I'm not being answered about a specific medication, that is just not okay. The fact that I was written off is not okay. The fact that I was promised a callback by a medical assistant and I never received that is not okay. Granted, a couple other things that were very odd with this particular office had happened, and I just kind of wrote them off because I was like, they're updating their systems, and, I was getting confirmations, people calling me about other appointments with other doctors. I'm like, that's not me. Like, I've never heard of that doctor. I've never made an appointment with that doctor. And they just said, okay, and that was it. But, like, where's the patient's information that was supposed to see that doctor? They could have been waiting forever. And this office did just update their systems, and it's kind of been like a hot mess with them, let's just say. And I know this because I've received those calls, and I also know this because they voiced that to me. Something else that was voiced to me is that when, I believe it was like the 4th or 5th call, one of the girls up front said, I need you to voice your frustration because this is not the first time that this has happened. Okay, first of all, if you worked for me and told somebody that, like, you'd be written up or fired, because that's just, like, not okay. Second of all, the fact that this is happening multiple times is also not okay. So it's like another red flag. So these random other things had happened, and they just kind of added more fire, like more ammo to this fire. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, thank God. I just kept saying, like, I wrote a huge post about this on my Facebook last week. Thank God this happened to me and not someone else who doesn't know what to do. Because I am trying everything in my power to be able to help as many patients as I possibly can by using my voice, by being vocal, by hoping to implement, like, strategies where budgets are so that you can fix this. So let's see, what else? So I guess it's where we are now. So I had the vertigo. I was on a med. I got a virus. It threw my body for a loop. I needed to come off this med. My doctor isn't answering. How does this happen? I go to CVS. I ask the pharmacist. They help me. I'm good. I'm going to be off the drug in 3 days. Now I'm dealing with the office manager so that she's aware. Now she calls me back. So when she called me back, she also told me that she had a personal health story where she totally understood my frustration, blah, blah, blah. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. However, her message from the boss of my doctor, the head of this medical building, said he would be more than happy to see me. Okay. So that right there still doesn't answer my questions, because the reason why I was following up with this doctor is to see how I can taper off this drug. That's it. How do I taper off? I don't need to be seen. I need to know how to come off a drug. When there's a medication involved and I've already been to the emergency room and I feel like I should be going back multiple times every day, that's a problem. So the fact that you're still not answering the question regarding a specific medication that I was put on by someone in your office, you actually don't even have the decency to pick up the call, like yourself, and call me. That's fine. You're slammed. So is everybody else in this world. But that's a red flag. Another one. And that is absolutely unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. I'm talking to you and I need your help about a drug. A drug that could literally kill someone. A drug I'm having problems with. And your message to this patient is, I'll be more than happy to see her. And so I asked the office manager, did you relay the specific message that was in need of, like, answering? Because I don't need to be seen. I need to know how to taper off a drug. This is serious. And then that's when she told me her story about how she understands my frustration. And I said, and I was a little bit fired up talking to her. And then I apologized, it's not to you, because I can understand and I hear it in your voice that this is not the first time. And I've also heard, like I mentioned earlier, from somebody else in your office that this is not the first time. This is unacceptable. So what I need you to go back and do is say, thank you, but I'm all set. I will no longer be needing your services ever. I will be recording a podcast on this. I will not say your names, but I need it to be known that this is not acceptable. The fact that I'm calling specifically about a drug, and for the second time I've getting written off, it's not okay. And she understood. I said, I'm speaking on behalf of thousands of patients that don't know what to do in this situation, that don't know to speak up, and everything I just mentioned earlier. Like, it is not okay. And I felt this weird feeling in my gut throughout this process to like just keep pushing. And I did that because, one, I was a little bit psycho on my steroids, and two, I have to like prove a point. Like, it's constant. Like, it's so frustrating. And so, I was voicing my frustration to her again, and, we had a really good conversation, and I said, I just really hope that you are able to help somebody else that doesn't know what to do next time, because I'm a smart person. I've made becoming healthy, and, this has been a job. This is why I'm referring to, like, front of the house and back of the house. Like, I'm referring saving my own life as a job, because it was another job for me for 3 years. And if I did not look at being sick or being misdiagnosed or taking on these multiple legal cases as a job, I would be dead. And that's like sickening to even say, and it makes me so emotional because I fought so hard to save my own life, and now I want to fight even harder to save others, which is why I'm becoming an attorney, which is why I want to implement these strategies into offices where they have budgets and they don't realize like what's missing. You want to save lives as a doctor. Well, you need to save lives in the clerical department and answering calls, because someone's going to die when you don't answer that call or help them taper off a drug. And that's a lawsuit. Like, wouldn't you like to prevent that? So I'm getting upset. I'm like, so passionate about this. It's like unreal, because you feel that fire in your gut. You know what's right. You know what's wrong. And like, there's so much information missing. Why are these people not put into jobs that can help save lives? Like, there's something missing. And I went on this huge rant. Like I said, on Instagram, I posted this long post on Facebook because I was so fired up. And this is why I'm recording this episode. So I wanted to give you the story of the vertigo, what happened, why I was on the drug, why I needed to taper off, and why I needed to fire my doctor. This is why. Because of these specific reasons that I just mentioned. When you feel that something in your gut is wrong, you need to go with it. If you're wrong, then you figure it out later. But like, when there's no communication, there's no follow-up, there's no care, forget it. Find someone that's going to effing care, because life is too short. And the stress that I was under last week, being on this freaking drug, made it 100 times worse. My heart was racing. I was shaking. Like, I was like ready to like do cartwheels, but like cry at the same time. And then I couldn't stop eating on top of it. Like, and I had a virus. It was awful. Now, today is detox day number 3. I'm feeling a hell of a lot better and more calm to record this episode, because I really want you to hear my story and hear my frustration and hear what it is that I do to make things right, to make things better for myself, because my priority is myself. Number one, if you do not have your health, you don't have anything else. I know this from experience, and I am now on a mission to help as many other patients as I possibly can, whether it's on the medical side or the legal side. So this is why I'm sharing my personal story, what happened, because I really think that by listening to this story, you'll be able to get a lot of information out of it and like hear my frustration and hear my passion. And I'm not saying fire a doctor. I'm saying if you are ever in this position, go with your gut. Follow up. Like, do what's right. Do what you feel in your gut. If you don't feel something is right, then you go with that feeling. And I guarantee, like 200% of the time, you're gonna be right, and you're gonna feel so much better. Granted, I need to now find another doctor. I have to wait 2 weeks to see my primary, to get another referral, and to do all that. And then I'm probably gonna have to go through all the testing again. But you know what? I've made a decision to stop this medication. I now know how. I am now concentrating so hard on healing and detoxing my body with all the fruits and veggies and the recipes I'm creating. Like, that is my sanity. Like, that is what keeps me sane, being in the kitchen and like really concentrating on like putting good shit into my system and not bad shit. And the fact that I was just put on these meds, I thought it was going to help. I trusted this doctor. That is my issue. I have serious trust issues now because of that. And I really thought that I was going to be good with this one. But, you know, shit happens and here we are. So the only thing I can do from this experience is fix it for others, which is why, again, I'm recording this episode. So if you're ever in a situation like this, first of all, make sure you're taking notes. I put everything in notes section in my phone. I write things down in my planner, in my notebook, like, because my memory is awful. If you have a great memory, then you won't maybe need to write anything down, but you want to make sure that you're, you know, tracking these things that are happening. If people aren't answering your calls, your patient portal emails, following up when they're promising, like, there's thousands of patients, we understand, but when you're on the 8th call, it's a bit ridiculous, don't you think? So that's when you know it's time to move forward. And how do you move forward? You be professional, you be polite, you make it aware. You never know when this doctor's going to show up. You just never know anything in life, do you? But the only way that you can do things correctly is by listening to your gut and just doing what you feel is right. And for me, that was bringing this huge story to the awareness of the office manager who, essentially, this is her job, being in charge of the patients up front and then in the back. But there needs to be somebody else, because as a manager, she's managing her team. She doesn't have time to do these calls. This isn't her specific job. So I'm going to be doing more research about this, because I feel like there's something very specific that's missing in these offices. And so I'm like halfway through my research, but I need to do more. And like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but it just needs to be done. There needs to be some kind of other system in place. And from a patient's perspective and a medical and a legal perspective, it's all missing. And I think it would really benefit. Well, I know it will be extremely beneficial for the patient and the medical teams and like all parties involved. So to wrap this up, the number one thing that I can tell you that's changed on how I would have taken care of this, like ripping them a new one, screaming at them in the middle of their office, losing my mind, which I've done before, and it's actually written on like medical reports on my charts for some doctors that I've had to fire before, which is kind of funny. So when I'm done with my legal case, I'll actually share that one day, but right now I can't, is my mindset. If I was not meditating, if I did not have a different mindset, I would have lost my shit. And I did a little bit, but like not to them. It was just about the situation. And I apologized, and then I was professional. I'm like, you understand my frustration. You understand, you know, I just want to change this for other patients out there so they don't experience what I just went through. I'm a tough cookie. I've saved my own life like for 3 years. So the fact that I'm still here and I can still talk about it and I can still help other people, because I am, that's what I have to do. I have to be able to help other patients. That's why I have my Med Chat Monday series on YouTube, because I want to help other medical professionals, other caregivers, other patients, other people out there having to do anything to do with somebody's health. This information needs to be shared. And I have so much more inside of me, but like right now, my focus is to heal my body and make sure my mindset is like A-okay so that I can help more later. So right now, you know, I took a little break from my Med Chat Monday series on YouTube, but there's a bunch there now that you can see, and I'll put the link in the notes. Show notes for you. I just know that, you know, nurses are under a ton of stress. Doctors are under a ton of stress. The patients are under a ton of stress. The girls answering and the guys in the office are under a ton of stress, because this is an industry that's never going to stop, unfortunately. There are millions of people that are sick in the world, and they're always going to have a business. But if you're going to have a business and, you know, your attempt is to make people better and save lives, you've got to be doing it the right way. And there's a lot of miscommunication, misdiagnosing, you know, malpractice, protocols that are just not okay, and things like just there's so much missing. So I hope that you got a lot out of this episode, whether it was to take into your own personal situation, or maybe you know somebody that's sick and going through like some crazy drama with the doctor. It's okay to move forward and fire them. It's okay to have a conversation and speak up. It's okay to document every single little detail in your notes, because you may need it one day, because I am proof. 6 medical malpractice legal cases later, if I didn't document dates and times, I would not be where I am right now. And my story is very different than others. Everybody has their own story. This is mine. I've just decided to share with you. I hope that if you are ever in a situation where you do feel something odd and something is wrong in your gut, and you are in a situation where you just don't trust this doctor, or doctors rather, then you move forward and find another one. And if you need some gut healing and mindset tactics, meditation, and, brain foods that, fuel and help heal your brain as well, you can find all that on my Instagram. It's just like what I've been posting a lot of lately, or in my Facebook group as well, the Happy Workaholic Network Facebook group. All that will be in the links in the show. All those links will be in the show notes. But I really wanted to record an episode like this because I know that if it's happening to me, it's happening to thousands of other people. So I just wanted to give you some of my tips on how to do it. Be professional, be polite. Just make sure you're showing up and following up and documenting everything. You have to document. If you do not, you're in trouble. Because it's going to save your life one day. I can promise you that. But now that I'm feeling better, I'm going to be off these steroids soon. I'm feeling a lot calmer. I've rested a lot over the weekend. My body was just exhausted. I took a whole page of notes to record this episode because I didn't want to miss anything sharing with you guys. But again, you do not need to fire a doctor if you don't have to. I'm just giving you a story, my personal story and situation, where if you feel in your gut like maybe that's time, then this is how you would do it. Bring awareness to the nurses and the office managers and document everything and just be professional and polite. Thank you for your time, but it's just not going to work out. I need to go get another opinion. Apparently that's what they wanted me to do anyway, because that's the message that I got. So here we are. But I hope that you guys got some useful information out of this episode by me sharing my personal story of what just happened. And again, just always go with your gut. And of course, I'm not a medical professional. I am just a professional patient. And I know what's best for me. And that's the decision that I went with. And I'm feeling really good about it. If you guys have any other questions, comments, concerns, you can always reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to help you, answer any questions that I can. But that's all I wanted to share today. How, why, when it's time to fire your doctor and move forward with your own personal healing journey. I just hope that if you are listening to this episode and you are not feeling good, that you make decisions that will make you feel good, because that's what I'm doing now. And I'm on a mission to help thousands of other patients out there feel a lot better. So I hope you guys have a wonderful Friday and a wonderful rest of your weekend. And I will talk to you again soon. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you liked this episode, please share it with someone who you feel needs to hear this message. And don't forget to tag me at The Happy Workaholic on Facebook and Instagram so I can feature you on my stories. And if you have 2 minutes and listening on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, I would love it if you could leave me a review. Those messages mean so much to us podcasters, and they really help me create more of the content that you'll love. Want to continue today's conversation? It's simple. Head to Facebook and search for the Happy Workaholic Network Facebook group. Answer the questions and you're in. For more information on myself, coaching programs, weekly newsletter, and more, visit thehappyworkaholic.com. The Happy Workaholic Podcast is part of the iHeartRadio Podcast Network. Be sure to follow the Happy Workaholic Podcast on iHeartRadio or subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. I hope that your day continues to be happy, healthy, positive, and productive, and I'll talk to you again soon.